Hello everyone. This is Jasvina here for a book video review. Unfortunately, I've not been reading as much as I'm supposed to be. I've started reading two books, the physical books that I have with me right now, but another ebook, one particular ebook actually caught my attention, and I stopped reading the others and I picked that book up. So I'm gonna do the review for that one first, and actually there are kind of like multiple books that I'm reading right now, so you can expect more book video reviews to come in this month, hopefully. So I'm actually halfway through The Educated. I'm also halfway through The Power of Now, which is a very famous book, and I think I really love it so far, and I can't wait to finish that book to be able to review that book for all of you. Educated is almost done. The Power of Now is also almost done. I'm also reading another book, the physical book that I have. The one that I bought some time ago from a book fair, and the one that I finished is actually it's entitled The Way of the Superior Man by Deida, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's his name. It's actually a very famous book, and I finished reading this on the New Year's Day in just one sitting, and I think it was just mind-blowing. I have to just do this review for all of you guys. So The Way of the Superior Man is actually explaining about the masculine energy and also the feminine energy in a person. I mean, you don't have to be a man to have masculine energy. You don't have to be a woman to have feminine energy. So this book actually touches about the aspect of how the feminine energy and the masculine energy works together naturally, right? So before we come to the book video review, I'm gonna briefly explain to you once again how I'm gonna review this book based on the format that I actually set for all my non-fiction book video reviews. The first is going to be based on the internal layout of the book. I'm not going to judge a book by its cover, so it's going to be based on the internal layout of the book. In this case, it's the ebook that I got, and although it's an ebook, I think internal layout still very much relates to ebook as well, because I think when it comes to formatting, if the font is too small or the spacing is too small, too close together, I think it's a little bit hard for readers to actually read the book. So that is number one. I'm going to rate it out of 10. The next is the plot development, how the book actually flows from one chapter to another. That's also out of 10. And number 3 is going to be the key takeaway message that I think I can get from this, the particular book that I'm reviewing. So that is also out of 10. So in total, you will have like 30 marks, right? 30 points. And so let's just start with the internal layout of the book. This particular ebook, I do not remember having any difficulties to read the book. It was very comfortable to read that ebook, and the spacing was good, the font, the choice of font, and also the size of the font was just nice. So I have no complaints about that. I had no difficulties to read this book. So it's 10 out of 10. And the next is the plot development. Now, what's interesting about this book is that Mr. Deida, right? When he writes his book, it's a non-fiction book, but when he writes the book, right? He's writing about a concept which is about masculine energy and also feminine energy, and it can be a very subjective topic. It can be a little bit confusing to readers, right? So in every chapter, or in every in every subtopic, or in every subchapter, after the subchapter is over, Deida actually incorporates questions from the reader's point of view. Like, let's say you're reading this particular book and you're questioning the fact behind that particular subchapter, right? And he actually puts that as a question, and he answers that question, so eventually the whole book, when you are done with the whole book, it feels like Deida has done his best to answer the questions that the readers may have for him, right? So I think that's an excellent way of writing this kind of book, especially when it is trying to explain a school of thought to you, a new concept to you, or is trying to explain not really a new concept, a new idea, but it's trying to explain a very complex subject to you. And I think at this point of time, people will have a lot of questions running through their mind, and he has done his best to address all that questions in this book itself, right? So that's really good, and I had no difficulties to follow through the book right to the end. So that's 10 out of 10. The next is the key takeaway message. Now, while I agree with most of the concepts laid out by Deida in this book, I think they were also very eye-opening for me, because I've never really looked at the relationship between a man and a woman in the perspectives that Deida has actually laid out in this book before. So this is totally something new for me, and it was very refreshing to read that book as well. However, now when it's coming to this book, what Deida actually explains is that there are three kinds of people or energy. It's the feminine energy, is the masculine energy, and also it's the neutral energy, right? So a person who is having masculine energy will have all those masculine traits as the dominant traits in them, right? It doesn't have to be a man to have more masculine energy. You can be a female with masculine energy being the dominant traits in your characters, right? So likewise, you have also feminine energy being dominant in someone, and you classify them as being feminine. And also the third category is being neutral, right? If, let's say, someone is having both the energies in somewhat a very balanced manner, then Deida actually categorizes this person as being neutral, right? However, one of the things that I can't really agree, or probably I can't really see yet, is the fact that he classifies women as either feminine or masculine. He classifies male as either feminine or masculine, right? If you have a balanced proportion of two energies, then he puts you in the neutral category. But however, I think a woman who is in the corporate sector, probably holding a very high position in the corporate ladder, may have masculine traits when she is at work, but it doesn't necessarily mean that she is also being very masculine in her relationship with a man, or in a romantic relationship. So I think there is a lot of gray areas to a person. Like, you don't have to be neutral in order to have both masculine and also feminine energy. Like, let's say at one particular point you feel like you're more masculine than your partner, but that's just a small part of your relationship, or probably that's just for a tiny bit of time that you're being masculine, but the rest of the time you are basically being feminine. Then I think we are just being human, we are just being people. So I think it's a combination of both energies at times, and it is very much dependent on when these energies, each one of these energies are actually being more dominant than than the other, right? So I don't think so just because if I'm being strong at work, right, or probably today is a bad day at work and I have to like stand up for myself, that wouldn't really make me masculine just because I had to like bring that trait out just for that particular situation, right? But for the rest of the days at work, I may be someone who's very silent, right? I may be someone who don't talk that much, but you know, it's not always the same. And I think just because one chooses to show the trait for a very short period of time or occasionally, it doesn't really necessarily mean that the person is neutral, right? So I saw a lot of aspects in this book, or the explanation in this book, whereby he purely sees women as being chaotic, or not really women, but it's the feminine energy being something very chaotic, constantly being very chaotic, constantly being very messy, constantly changing emotions. Yes, I think I do understand the part where he's trying to explain that feminine energy is more you know, it's more lively, it's more dynamic than the masculine energy, right? But I think classifying feminine energy being something purely chaotic is not really justifiable. I think just like how you would classify masculine energy being very calm and composed and, you know, static, I think men also have emotions, and I think they also get emotional at times. So and that wouldn't make them neutral, right? So that's something that I don't really agree on Deida's perspective. But the other basic concept of how a man should treat a woman is really mind-blowing in this book. And I think if he were to write a book on how women should also handle men in, or get along with men in a romantic relationship, I think that would be really, really good, right? So this book is more for men, right? If he's looking to handle women in a relationship, or he's trying to navigate through the differences between men and women and all the problems that a couple may face in a relationship, then I think it's an excellent book for a man to read. And also it's a good book for women to read, to understand how men are supposed to treat them. So if a man is being calm and composed, and you know, he knows how to handle the bad side of you, so you will be knowing what to look for in a man. I mean, not entirely, I'm not asking you to take this book as a Bible to, you know, judge someone, but I think it sort of like gives an idea of what to look in a person when you are trying to get to know someone. So for that reason, I think I give the key takeaway message would be 8 out of 10, and with a point of 28 out of 30, which is 9.3 out of 10. I think this book has definitely obtained a very high marks, or probably high rating from myself, which definitely indicates that I have thoroughly enjoyed reading this book, and I would recommend this book for anybody out there who is interested to understand how you can communicate better with the other sex, and how to make things work in a relationship. I would definitely recommend this book. It's mind-blowing. It was really good to learn something that I didn't know, and I believe it's you will also be able to catch things that you didn't know from this book. So it's really highly recommended. Please do check this book out on Amazon.com, The Power of the Superior Man, and I'm sure you'll also enjoy reading this book as much as I did. So till I see you soon in the next book video review, signing off from you is Jaspina. Thank you.